This video will contain major story spoilers for Jedi Survivor, so if yet not to complete the story yet, I recommend skipping this video until you actually complete the story. Then come back because we're going to be talking about the possibilities for the third installment in this franchise. Jedi Survivor ends off on a very different note from the first game, where the first game ended off on a very hopeful note of the possibilities with the Mantis crew, but in Survivor, that is much bleaker. And the future, yes, does have a, you could say, predictability to it, where the next game's gonna start off with, but this ending is way more darker. Cal is a much darker spot. You know, two of your allies are dead, being Cordova and Seer. Both of them are dead, you know, and that leaves Cal in a very dark spot where he promised to fulfill Seer's destiny of leaving a mark on the galaxy, starting the Jedi Order again. We'll see where that goes, because obviously in Regional Trilogy there's no mention of a Jedi Order being built, so that has to end horribly, or maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But something that is very interesting is that Cal and the Mantis crew, they got a new member. Her name is Kata, which I didn't expect for her to join the Mantis crew. Granted, I should have seen it coming, because they did plant the seeds of the, you know, in the beginning of the game with Bode's daughter, and yeah, you do see her daughter, and she doesn't like what Bode's doing, or her father's doing, and, you know, it makes sense for her to join the crew, because, you know, they can't really abandon her. And I like that parallel, because both Cal and Mirren are basically in the same spot that Kata was, or is, you know, being alone. No adults to help her in the galaxy. So they decided to take her in. But I do wonder if there's going to be a time jump to the third game where she's going to be older. This is what I'm guessing, because right now, early prediction, the game's going to be taking place 5 years after Jedi Survivor, which would be a cool theme. Each game takes place at, 5 years later, so it'll be 15 years after the Clone Wars have ended. So it'll be, like, I think around 5 years before A New Hope, or I think so, 5 or 6 years. Also, the same time as, like, Andor, Season 1, and Rebels, the start of that show. So, I think it is cool to set the third game in that time frame. Now, I think Kyle's much older, obviously, and her relationship with Cal and Mare is probably going to be very rocky, probably really difficult. Going to be, 5 years older. I don't really know how old she is in this game. She looks like 8 years old, 8, 9. So I'm guessing. So she'll probably be 15 or 14 years old, if that's correct. Because I'd be wrong on that. The game could take place like just 2 years later, but I think it'd be cool to see her as like a teenager, kind of resenting her parents. Maybe she leaves, maybe you have to go and find her, maybe that could be part of the third game, and maybe this could lead into another thing I'm going to talk about here, which is Cal's dark side. Because in the game, you do experience a dark side, and you do go ham just killing all these stormtroopers and just slaughtering them. And throughout the, after that point, the force flow ability that you have actually turns into a dark side ability where it makes you stronger and makes the game easier. Does that mean he's going to become a Sith? No. But could he become a fallen Jedi? Because I think an argument could be made that is Cal a fallen Jedi or not. Is he a great Jedi or is he a fallen Jedi? Like Malicos was in the first game, or Dagon is, or was, in this game, where these characters kind of just bleed their crystals red, and they basically turn evil, or you say the antagonist of their said game. But for Cal, you get your red lightsaber after you complete the game. An interesting twist could be, maybe in the third game, you get a red lightsaber during the main story, opposed to getting the ability to unlock, or to just choose a red lightsaber for customization in the first two games. I think that'd be really interesting to see Cal going to a dark spot. I can see the third game is guaranteed to have a portion of the game where you are just using dark side abilities, and I can even see the expansion of your abilities changing. I see you like unlocking like Force Lightning, maybe Force Choke, using dark side abilities. And I see that expanding the roster from the already great roster you already have of abilities they can use with the Force. But these are my speculations, because I don't know if they're making a third game. I think they are. I mean, the game does hint towards the third game. So I think that the game's going to take place 5 years after, this installment, and it's going to be a portion of the game where Cal is going to go fully to the dark side. Darth Vader's going to show up. Cal's probably going to fight him. I could probably see him dying to Vader. It'd be kind of poetic. Seer died to Vader, and Cal's dying to Vader. Also, you're going to be able to play as Marin, or even Kata, because she'll be a teenager at that point. Maybe you'll be able to play as her. Most likely Kata, but I know a lot of people want to play as Marin, because she's a Night Sister. I don't know how that work with, like, I mean, I guess it could work, because it's not clear if Kata has the Force. I would assume so, saying her father was a Force sensitive, so I'm assuming she's by default has the Force. That's what I'm just guessing. So we'll probably see that in the next game, seeing Cal train Kata. So there's a lot of possibilities. The dynamic of this new family now, it would be interesting to see how the relationship folds. I'm predicting not very well. Predicting she's gonna run off. Because that's what teenagers do. They become very moody. And I see that being part of the game towards the beginning of the game. Maybe that leads into the main point of the story, wherever that may be. That's where I'm going to end it here, because all these predictions I have, I'm going to keep them to it until the first trailer comes out of the third game, whenever that's going to come out. Because I do think that this third game is going to be the final of the franchise, because the way to look at it, they're making it seem like Cal's going to go to the dark side and possibly get himself killed, because he's being just slowly seduced by the dark side. I see that corrupting him and maybe he'll do things that will lead him to harm. Maybe that'll lead to Darth Vader showing up to wherever planet they're going to be at, and that's going to lead to Cal not being prepared to fight Vader. Maybe he can fight him, but it's going to end up killing him, and that's going to be the end of his story, the end of the Jedi trilogy. Or a good ending could be they escape. Maybe they go to Tanalorr, because I think the game will start on Tanalorr. I mean, it has to. They're probably going to have a much more expansive look at Tanalorr, because in Jedi Survivor, Tanalorr is just nothing. The second you go in there, it's like, 100% of that planet, there you go. And there's nothing there, just 2 sections, and that's it. And you don't have anything in there. So Tanalorr is going to be heavily expanded upon in the third game. By default, it has to. That's where we end off. And, yeah, I think the third game could be the best in the franchise if they do a kind of a Star Killer stuff. They start doing Star Killer stuff in this game, which is great. So we need more of that. And I think there's going to be more of that. If Cal goes to the dark side, we're going to see more of that. His power's going to grow exponentially. So I'm going to end it off there. You're just going to leave your mind racing with ideas, because mine is. There's so many ideas I could do. And what ideas do you think could this third installment entail? Comment down below, because I'm going to go now, so goodbye, everyone.